hear it better now.
Nice. That's good to know. We're getting ready. What up, people? What's good? Salute.
Yes, sir.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Salute to the tribe. We're hip hop and comics and hip hop. We're a niche channel. And reserved for the best is super dope. I do sell comics. Check me out on Instagram at 6th_element_comic. What's good, everybody? What's good? This is the 6th element of hip hop. Y'all already know. I am your host, Reno. This is our co-host, Stu Dog. Everything's opposite. So when I point this way, it's this way. So yeah, that guy, that's Stu Dog, and that's our co-host. Man, what's up, everybody? How you doing, Stu? You feeling better?
I'm doing good. A little bit, man. I'm almost there, man. Friday be my last day. It's antibiotic. I'll be back to normal. Hopefully.
Good stuff.
I can check the doctor. You know what I mean? Big Stu be back to
Right.
normal. But it's been a long journey.
It's been a long journey, baby. It's been a long journey. But we here.
2 weeks.
We
I
here.
feel better. I feel
What's
better.
good, Corey? What's
Man,
good?
it's just the whole process of what I gotta do. That's just tedious.
With the ear infection, you got to do.
Yeah. I gotta put the drops in, and then gotta drain it, clean it. You know what I mean?
At least it's they curing the shit. That's what's important. They curing this.
Nah, man.
So guys,
scared. We kind of scared,
well,
man. Cause
I know. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, man. Because I know some people that were saying, I ran into some guys like, I just had one too, man. I guess there's something going around. I guess I don't know. They were like, one guy was telling me, he did the whole regiment thing, and then he said, it didn't take or something. I don't know. He said he had to do it again. Like he said, I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. Yeah. So he said he did it. Yeah, he said he had to do it for like almost 3 weeks. I said, no, we ain't trying to do all that. No, Rad, what's up?
Made me want to walk around like this, man.
Nothing get in. That's exactly how I want to walk around from now on.
All right, so we got a lot of shit though today, man. To cover, because we want to talk about Acetate finally. We've never really covered that on this show. We touched on it here and there. We never did a big presentation, so I'm gonna break down what this Acetate thing is all about, and then we're gonna watch a little video that I feel is something called Karma Full Circle. It's called Karma Full Circle. It's just funny how these things happen. You do these things to people, and then the shit happens to you, and you're like, oh yeah, hey, how's it feel, bub? But neither here nor there. We got a lot of other shit too we got to talk about. I mean, we got to cover Star Wars, hip hop, Rings of Power, Disney Plus, Rick and Morty, The Mandalorian, House of the Dragon, She-Hulk, Daredevil, Star Trek, Rogue One, X-Men, and more. We're gonna cover all that today. We're gonna get it all in. So peace, Herbert Carpenter was good. And also real quick, a little apology. We try to keep this show politic free, philosophy free, that kind of thing. We try to stay hip hop, comic books, and recently we had a little bit of political conversations, and I've since taken that video down, and we'll be editing some other things later. But so I just want to apologize for dipping over into that pool, because we want to stay out of that pool. So from here on out, guys, don't worry. 6th Element of Hip Hop is going to be strictly comics, hip hop, films, TV shows, reviews, all that good stuff. Nothing too heavy. You know what I mean? Peace, Slade. What's good? Slade's in here in the chat with his Deathstroke gun. Y'all be careful, man. You're gonna hit you with that Deathstroke. We got him on deck. But yeah, man. So That's just that. All right. So acetate gate, right? So kind of a play on the words, kind of play on the pizza gate and all the different gates, like conspiracy theories and whatnot. But this is not a conspiracy or theory by any means. So what happened? What are we talking about? Well, this recent C2E2 Chicago Comic Entertainment Expo, like a big Comic Con, not just, but more like an expo where, you know, they reveal new stuff and all this stuff. And it was a big fiasco. Big thing went down. According to Marvel, a vendor at C2E2 sold an unauthorized variant that quickly entered into the top 10 hottest comics of the week and commanded very high prices amid substantial controversy. If you've already read virtually any comic book blogs, tweets, IG posts, or checked any comic-centric YouTube channels recently, you're probably somewhat familiar with the controversy some are calling Acetate Gate. But just ahead of the annual C2E2 convention in Chicago, this, you know, in the past recently, Lexington, South Carolina's Black Flag Comics announced that they would be dropping 750 copies of an exclusive acetate variant of their previously released Ultimate Fallout 4 Clayton Crain facsimile variant. So those who don't know, Ultimate Fallout 4 is the first appearance of Miles Morales. And it was like a reprint, a variant. Clayton Crain is an artist who is caught up in this scandal. And so he was pricing the books at $85, and they were, you know, as raw, and they were completely sold out before the majority of the fans, many of whom traveled great distances specifically for this one comic, even entered the building. And what makes this different from a standard convention exclusive feeding frenzy is that the entire run of 750 comics sold out, but mostly to exhibitors before the convention doors ever opened, to other vendors. This is because Black Flag Comics had set no limit to the quantity attendees could purchase. And this is the first time I've ever heard of a convention exclusive that allowed more than a couple copies per person, with an announced price of $85 each, raw, that generated a minimum of $63,000. More on that in a moment. Bystanders and those in the queue, in the line, who have reported across multiple social media accounts that no limit was in place, and the influencers were allowed to cut the line. One YouTuber, White Shadow, real name Chip, reported in a vlog that Saturday evening that he witnessed a number of Whatnot sellers and IG influencers cutting the line to purchase entire short boxes full of this rare variant. Instagram reseller Danielle Nerdy Girl Comics posted on her own account that she had managed to pick up 75 copies, for which she had paid for at the booth. Several other supposed bystanders had corroborated Chip's accusations that these influencers had been allowed to forego waiting, but a photo taken by No Mas Comics at about 8:51 shows that Hive Comics, Nerdy Girl, Spectral Comics, Your Comic Corner, Everything Batman, Doyle Comic Art, and Illus Illuminati were all waiting in line from at least that point. And similarly, Skeff of YouTube channel Skeff's Comic Knowledge was erroneously alleged to have circumvented the line, but there is no doubt that he was allowed to purchase 125 copies, which, according to a long Facebook Live post from Black Flag owner Jason Wallace, were also being held from prior communications. The bigger gripe that all were allowed to purchase as many issues as they wanted. As far as them skipping the line and all that, personally, I know Nerdy Girl, there was no skipping of lines. They didn't actually do that, but they were allowed to buy multiple copies. And that's what people had a problem with. And that's just the beginning of this whole thing. This thing gets really deep. So when those standing in the line saw that these big quantities changing hands without limit, they started buying quantities of 10, 20, 40, or even 85 copies at a time. And by the time Chip was about 15 people from the front of the line, a Black Flag employee announced that while they were starting to run low on copies, and there were a handful of CGC graded copies, okay, a couple of 9.8s for $500, a couple of 9.9s for $1,250, and a 10.0 for $2,500. Okay, again, this is going to get deeper and more on this later. When he was about 4 bodies from the front, it was clear that there was a single loosely filled short box of raw copies remaining, but the person actually at the front was another YouTuber, an IG whatnot influencer who bought all of those and even wanted more, but they had waited in line. At that point, Jason Wallace, the owner of Black Flag, announced that all raw copies had been sold. The people in the line went bananas. After much haranguing, a short box, which according to Wallace had already been promised to another collector, was located, and Black Flag began selling from that. There was now a limit of 2 per person, and the price was raised from $85 to $100. But even that supply was completely gone in a matter of minutes. Blowback, okay? It took no time at all for many of the social media accounts to start calling out Black Flag Comics for what most considered to be a very poorly handled release, as well as a price gouging. But there was also an online pitchfork march for whatnot sellers and social media influencers who were allowed to buy in bulk, seemingly without having to stand and wait. The blogosphere became an echo chamber of accusations. It's all you saw on YouTube, Instagram for days. All right, since these so-called few influencers were named, many people were not in attendance cast speculation about who they must have been. And this resulted in a lot of the resellers posting in defense of themselves and each other to ill effect. Jim Mint, who has been on our show, good homeboy of mine, he's a solid dude. He took to IG and YouTube to address his own purchase, but in an attempt to defend some of his fellow influencers, ended up confirming their identities for the blogosphere. And after hundreds of critical comments, he removed that post and video. Nerdy Girl deleted her post as well. She's also a friend of mine as well. But Jim Mint's post said, after consideration, I've decided to pull down the C2E2 drama video, not because the heat it might bring my way, which holy shit, there was some heat, but out of respect for others mentioned in the video. I got to tell you, it was a humbling experience for me as well. I got to do better. So kudos to Jim Mint. So then Jason Wallace, the owner of Black Flag Comics, had posted a Facebook live stream via the Black Flag Comics account on Saturday afternoon, celebrating the successful sellout of the Clayton Crain Acetate variant while walking the C2E2 convention floor. In it, he confirmed that large quantities had been set aside for bulk purchases, which was seen to skirt the definition of a convention exclusive. He claimed that all the copies set aside had been prepaid, but that claim runs counter to Nerdy Girl's own account that her large bulk purchase. So since then, by this point, conventioneers were seeing these books marked up 200, 300% at other booths. I've personally seen them on eBay for going upwards over $1,000 raw. Frustrated that Black Flag had sold out before the doors had opened, Wallace addressed his motivation for allowing bulk purchases, quoting, he said, I see business opportunities. I take it. Our books are dope. Our books make people money. End quote. In a rather long, scattershot 25-minute live stream, he would go on to state his intention of setting up a fine art gallery in which there might even be a little mouse involved, inferring that he was exploring some kind of partnership with Disney. As one might assume, his explanation did not go over well, and he did take it down along with every other reference on his various social media accounts to the acetate variant. All right, but here's the kicker. Clayton Crain, who created the facsimile cover, was not in attendance at C2E2 when the drama unfolded, and he has not posted any commentary about it as of this writing, or as of this post, or as of this video even. But Black Flag announced that in a post that has been removed that they will have 2 more acetate exclusives at Boston Comic-Con this weekend for over $100 a piece, a Ghost Rider and a Venom, both Clayton Crain variants. This is gonna make more sense in a minute. So which one of these was not specified? All right, they just that they were old. So in Wallace's live stream, he suggested that there would be 2 lines, one for influencers and resellers, and a 1 per person fan line for which he'll reserve 100 total copies of each. There was no explanation about who would qualify as an influencer or a reseller or what their limit would be. But in what transpires as the most bizarre part of this story, Bleeding Cool was able to confirm that these acetates are not Marvel approved comics. As we all know, an unapproved edition is otherwise known as a counterfeit or a bootleg. The announcement of an exclusive with a print run of only 750 immediately raises flags, since Marvel has a minimum purchase of 3,000 copies per exclusive. We know this. If you're in the comic selling business, you know this. Since the only difference between the prior Clayton Crain facsimile and the C2E2 exclusive, the only difference in this comic and the original is that they printed an acetate wrap. That's a clear plastic sheet that they covered over the cover with like some graphics on it. And they stapled it in with extra staples on the comic. All right. This is going to be important. All right. Since the only difference between the prior Clayton Crain facsimile and the C2E2 exclusive is that printed acetate wrap, it stands to reason that Black Flag Comics paid Crain to design a clear cover as an incentive to sell their leftover stock of the original comic. But Marvel has strict policies in place for approving exclusive variants, and while no course of action is yet to be announced, penalties seem imminent, since this one is confirmed as unapproved. But this raises a more serious question. The CGC is involved. Why did CGC grade an unapproved aftermarket alteration? These acetate variants have a second set of staples because this unapproved transparency has merely been stapled onto an existing comic. By CGC's own posted grading criteria, any aftermarket adjustment should get a green label, not a blue label. But more importantly, how on earth can a comic with 4 extra staple holes in it receive a 10.0 grade, or even a 9.9, or even a 9.8 for that matter? CGC actually posted an official statement on the matter after all this shit. They said, "We apologize for the short response yesterday and wanted to follow up with an explanation of our thought process behind these grade assignments. We treated them as we would treat any other variant cover that's attached with an extra set of staples after the book was printed, and at times these books include the original cover as well. There is a precedent for acetate covers being attached to a printed book and then graded by CGC. An example is Stray Dogs #1 from last year. An acetate variant cover was attached with an extra set of staples, to which CGC was assigned a universal grade and a notation of acetate cover on the label. The extra set of staples were part of the manufacturing process of attaching the acetate cover and was not considered a defect. Of course, the Stray Dogs #1 acetate variant was manufactured and released by Image Comics, not by a third party making a bootleg. So the extra staples that appear in the issue are an original production design, not a defect, making the justification given by the CGC for the Crain acetate odd at best, disingenuous at worst. While there were previous policies against grading fake comics, there are several high-profile counterfeits that were common enough in their day to have earned a certain collectability. Right, so at least one counterfeit copy of Cerberus #1 has been graded by CGC in a blue label, but it has counterfeit listed 3 times on the label, including the title. There are also some high-profile collectible counterfeits of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, Flaming Carrot Comics #1, but I'm unaware of any actually graded copies of those latter 2 in the census. How is the Crain acetate different from these? An hour after the previous statement on CGC chat boards, this appeared on CGC's chat board. CGC graded these comics only because the acetate cover was created by the artist himself. That statement seemingly empowers any artist whose work graces any comic cover the right to add an acetate sheet and call it a variant. Just imagine the can of worms this opens. We haven't seen it yet, but it would be rather simple to break any existing blank sketch covers and print directly onto those covers and produce an edition variant rather than a unique sketch cover. And if CGC refuses to grade them, they open themselves up to litigation for discriminatory business practices, especially now that they have been acquired by Blackstone, a publicly traded company under SEC governance. I don't think anyone imagined that a homemade variant would change the entire grading model within the comic collecting industry, but that is very possibly what happened here. All of this, and then recently, yesterday, and a day or two ago, the guy I was talking about, Jason Wallace, the owner of Black Flag Comics, posted a video about that artist we were talking about who made the bootleg cover, Clayton Crain, cheating on his having an affair with his wife. So now Jason Wallace, the owner of Black Flag, who started this, who was the kind of the peddler behind all this shit, and the artist who created the bootleg comic, have actually been, you know, in so cahoots or whatever that they're actually in a love triangle. So now Jason's been cuckolded by Clayton Crain. And Clayton Crain is a douchebag. I'm sorry. I never really liked his art. His covers always seemed douchey to me. We have a shit ton of comments here, guys. I'm sorry. I was trying to get through all of that. But to read through these comments, wow. So, oh God, it's like 26 comics. Let's see. Cutting in line. Yeah, no, I covered all that. So yes. So, what I wanted to do now was show this little video that he posted, because I think it's very telling. You know, that not just telling, but it's like karma full circle. He's done this to the public. He's done this to all these collectors, and basically he's just kind of feeling what it feels like. But maybe you guys see it differently, but let's run this clip one time. Here we go. This is the owner of the Black Flag Comics, the guy that sold and promoted and pushed this bootleg comic, talking about Clayton Crain, the artist who created the bootleg comic, and his wife.
Hey everybody. I hope y'all are doing well. It's just time that I came out and told everybody what's going on, and I am so sorry for hiding everything that's been happening. I am here to tell you all that April has left me, and she has decided to be with Clayton. Clayton came into my house. He treated me like a brother. He used me to get to my wife. My wife reciprocated, and they are both gone now. My wife, and I don't know what else to say. You said I was acting crazy before Chicago and Boston. My wife had left me. I didn't know what to do. My business was gone, and I have nothing left to say. This was our 20th anniversary this month, and Clayton stole that away from me. And I'm sorry I'm such a pussy, but I'll tell you what, I did throw him off my property with a gun in his face. He will never want to cross paths with me again, but I cannot win the battle because my wife has chosen to leave me. Black Flag will continue on, and I will go back to my roots, and I will have awesome books for you to have. God, this has been such a shithole. These acetates weren't even my fucking idea. This was April's idea. Her and Clayton decided to do this shit, and they brought me along. Whatever. I don't give a shit. Whatever. He is the worst fucking person I've ever met in my life. He left his wife and his 2 children and went across the country. His whole purpose was to get with his high school sweetheart, and he was willing to break up her relationship. He said he was going to use her as his muse. He was going to travel Europe, and he was going to get his name tattooed all over her back. He was going to use her and just be... shit, I don't know, man. I don't...
Damn. I mean, damn. So yeah, so he tries to put the whole thing off on his wife and Clayton. It was all their idea, the acetate thing. It was all them. I really, now he doesn't want nothing to do with it. Now he's crying when the cover came out, and he doubled down. Yeah, you're not gonna get any sympathy, bro. Not a lot. The comments certainly aren't being kind on his post or on his videos.
Yeah, I read one of the comments. One I was on there reading, and one of the comments said, "That's what you get." I said, "Wow, man, he rough, bro.
Yeah,
Rough, man."
yeah. I mean, people are pissed, and understandably so. I mean, even if you weren't one of the people in line trying to get the comic, a lot of people are just pissed, about the connotations. I mean, what it does to what it says about the comic community, what it says about, the whole thing. And you know, there is an issue with well, I guess we can call it FOMO, right? We call it FOMO, fear of missing out. That's the big thing in the comic community. When something's coming out and everyone, it's all the hype, people get nuts, they get scared, they get really passionate, they get pissed and crazy. We've seen the memes. Yeah, man. Yeah. The acetate. Yeah. So yeah, it's it's understandably pisses people off. And yeah, and believe me, bro, Crane and that chick and I guess he had come there to that whole thing is messy, bro. That whole thing is messy as hell. But again, how are you going to come online and try to garner this sympathy when you've been a dick? I mean, he's been a dick about it. Like, he hasn't been apologetic, he hasn't been explanatory. He's just been like, yeah, so what? I'm a businessman. I saw an opportunity. Fuck it. Like, cool if that, but man, you gotta, and then all of a sudden this happens, and wow. I don't think the book will hold its value after all this. Well, and that's the thing, Slade, and that's kind of what I tell people about any of these exclusives, any of these variants, any of this bullshit. It's all about this hype around it now. And right now, if you could have bought one for $85 and sold it on eBay for 1,000, more power to you. Whatever, man. Whatever, dude. I'm not gonna knock a hustler, but if you bought it for that $1,000 and you think that shit is gonna retain that value or be worth more one day, I'm sorry to tell you, you just threw away that grand, because this book is gonna be worthless in a little bit. I mean, maybe this particular book, because of the controversy, because of all of this shit, is going to retain that novelty value, because, oh, remember that the acetate shit, remember Acetategate? It's huge. Here's the book. So for that reason, yeah, it'll be a collectible piece. But please
Yeah,
don't.
I watched a couple videos where they were saying how like a lot of the bloggers are saying they don't understand how it got graded. It shouldn't have been graded yet. The book
Right.
wasn't out. Marvel didn't approve the cover. I mean, they were going on and on. And a lot of them were saying that in the comic book industry, it's a good old boys industry. And that's how they get down behind scenes,
Yeah.
and that culture in the industry has to change. You letting people, in front of the line, and they're buying 200 books, 100 books. They're gonna flip them. That's what it's for. I mean,
Mhm.
a lot of them were saying that Marvel doesn't even let you do that. They set a limit. You can only, they set a limit how many is printed, how many can be sold
Yep.
to each person, and things of
Yep.
that nature. And they were saying like this was just the wild, wild west.
Oh yeah, this
They just
was
did what
not.
they wanted to do.
Yep.
Because now they're saying that this isn't even going to be, you know, an official. The acetate book won't even be an official copy. It's not even an official copy. So how could it? And they were saying, how can CGC grade that and put a blue
Right.
label on it when, it had to be manufactured that
Well,
way,
that's
not added?
yeah.
And that's crazy, man. Me personally, Reno, I'd have been pissed if I'd have waited in line. Even if
Is
I'd have got the book and then all this came out, I'd have been pissed. I'd have been real mad.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I totally understand, all the back. I understand people being pissed about it. Um, I would like to get Nerdy Girl back on the show. She's been on the show before. I would like to get her back on the show just to hear, her side of it. And I've talked to just so she can say her side of it. But I know her side pretty much, and they kind of jumped on her prematurely. But again, understandably so, and they were always looking for somebody to blame or somebody to say, hey, you know, whatever. But eBay set the standard, and you can't sell that shit here. Is that true? Because like
That'd be a first.
couple of weeks ago, I was on eBay and they were up there for $1,000,
Yeah,
like $999. Like they were like going crazy on eBay, but I haven't seen if they stopped it. So that's good if they did. Because it's bootleg and it's bullshit. And so you've pulled the CGC into it because they've now graded some shit that was a bootleg, and I don't know if CGC was like in cahoots or they were. That's what a lot of people theorized.
That's what people live there. Right. A lot of people saying,
yeah, but I don't know if it's that or they were fooled also.
How can you grade a book? First of all, how can you grade a book that's not even out yet? Number one. Number two, when they look at the book and they see the extra staples, shouldn't it lose value? If they, like it should have lost value.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it had a blue label. The blue label is the biggest thing. It should have had a green. If CGC would have graded it, put it out, no matter what grade they gave it, and put the green label on it, it wouldn't have been as much controversy.
Right.
But with the blue label, now it's like, okay, you know, they had to be in on it. Like, there's no way a professional grader, and that really asks questions. When I sent my books off to CGC, I mean, damn, because the only way it could get a 10 is if Clayton Crain sat there at a table with a CGC grader, created the book, and the grader actually picked it up, put it into the case, and gave it a 10. There's no way it could have got it. There's no way it should have got a 10. There's no book. None of those books should have got a 10. Not even one.
That's why people really think CGC is involved, or someone over there got paid off. You know, someone over there took a bribe. Like something happened, and it definitely was not, you know, on the up and up. It wasn't how it's supposed to be. Lack Flag messed up pulling a gun on him and not using it as well. Could turn out bad for him. They could mess him up and call the cops, or next time they cross each other, Wild Wild West time. Who knows, man? Maybe Clayton Crain gonna come back with his 2 guns, and they're gonna have a duel. But yeah, that was kind of a stupid thing to even say on camera. Like put it out there. He did that, bro, because I doubt that was legal. So, depression's got a hold of me. Well, damn, Yorgo. Well, you're in the right place, bro. We're gonna cheer you up. We got some good shit to talk about. Well, number one, they have a database. How did CGC just turn a blind eye and didn't see it was an original? Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, they can claim like that they didn't know it was you know, approved by Marvel or whatever it was. But again, that means they didn't even check, because
they didn't check. All right.
Would have been simple to check. So who knows, man? Well, you know, we'll cover more if we find out more.
They even said that on some of the covers, there were misspellings, just a bunch of stuff, man. I seen one. It said in God we entrust. Instead of saying in God we trust, it said in God we entrust. Something. So I was like, wait a minute. What? And because they're saying that with this acetate cover, this was drawn on. Like this was drawn and then put over the regular cover.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So when you open it, the regular cover is underneath, but this acetate cover is supposed to be something of legend, something special. And they were saying that, you know, it just wasn't. It was just something wasn't right about it. It's just a clear piece of plastic. That's all it is.
Yeah. I don't know if everybody's seen it, but let's see if I can get us a pic. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I mean, you guys will see. It's pretty blatant. All right, let me get a good picture where you can kind of tell. That should do it. Click, click, clack. All right, here we go. So you see the Ultimate Fallout 4 Spider-Man No More. You can see the cover underneath. Then you can see like the flag in his hands, the red and white stripes going down the spine, the USA stamp on the top right kind of corner. All that's printed on a clear plastic, what's called acetate sheet that was wrapped around the cover as a cover and stapled in. So it's just a regular comic. They took a clear plastic sheet, printed USA on the sheet and the red and white stripes there, slapped it over it, and called it a variant. You know, which Marvel's put out. That there's been variants like that before, but they're authorized. You know, they're authorized by Marvel official. And so if that was done, the CGC could have done it. But if CGC had printed the 10 or the 9.9 or whatever and put the label on there saying that it was, you know, a creation or whatever, you can still get the 9.9, the 10, but it's under a category. And they didn't put it under that category. They put it like it was just any other regular 9, 9, and 10, and that's total bullshit.
That's not true.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's that, man. I don't want to kind of do the whole show about that, but because you know, it's not much. But Yorgo, my man Yorgo's in here and he's depressed, so we'll talk about some fun stuff. Bro, we got Star Wars news, Rings of Power, Disney Plus shit, Rick and Morty, Mandalorian, House of Dragon.
We'll let it be, bro. Let's break it down. Let's start off with Star Wars.
Let's bust it out. We gonna start with Star Wars. What's going on with Star Wars? Well, The Mandalorian, Rogue One is coming. Disney, Disney, this is interesting. Disney reportedly making serious changes to the sequel trilogy. And it goes without saying that the Star Wars sequel trilogy didn't successfully captivate any of us real fans of the franchise. And for a time, many believed that the company would not be able to bounce back from its failure and how they messed up the continuity and, you know, canon and all of that. So, but thankfully, over the last 3 years, the House of Mouse has made efforts to appease the fandom through projects like The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, which they failed at, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, which they failed miserably at, but which have undoubtedly renewed everyone's hopes about the future of Star Wars. I would say The Mandalorian most of all. But there's been rumors that Disney was planning to erase The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker from official canon, but those have already been dismissed. Now, a new report claims that although the company is still keeping the sequels as part of the main continuity, all 3 films will allegedly go some re-editing. And according to YouTuber Mike Zero, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and George Lucas will be working closely to oversee the re-release of the sequels by 2024. So not that far away. And this would include adding deleted scenes and filming additional footage. They're actually going to film some new stuff. Most notably, episode 9's climactic scene featuring the reemergence of several Force ghosts who rallied behind Rey during her battle with Darth Sidious. Instead of just being voices, they reworked the finale of episode 9. We'll reportedly see some of the actors reprising their Jedi roles, including Hayden Christensen, already signed on for the re-edits. Of course, nothing has been officially confirmed yet, so this, take this with a big grain of salt, but surely a lot of fans are in favor of the sequels being erased from history completely, myself included, but personally, I do think, though, that removing them from canon is not going to fix things. It's completely pointless. And if Disney truly wants to make it up to the fandom, the next trilogy set post-Skywalker saga would be perfect canvas. But, they are, at least they're listening, I think, give them something there. At least they're paying, at least they understand that, we don't like that shit and reasons why, and they're planning to do something about it. So
after Obi-Wan, they better because if they don't, they're gonna lose a whole fan base.
I'm telling you,
and that'd be embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're like you said, man, they're on the verge. But Andor looks to be maybe way better than Obi-Wan, and maybe, just as good as Mandalorian type shit. Disney's in a weird place right now with Star Wars. Taking a break from those from movies to do a bunch of Disney Plus series set in different time periods with different characters. And only a few have arrived so far, and they've either been hit or miss. Mandalorian hits, misses Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan somewhere in between. But one very curious project coming up is Andor. And everyone has, had a bit of trouble wrapping their heads around the concept of why we would need to see a prequel series based on the one guy from Rogue One who dies, like everyone else in that movie. But for the most recent trailer for Andor is really good. I mean, I really liked it. I really liked the Obi-Wan trailers too. I was watching the trailers for Obi-Wan, and I was expecting a completely different show. So I no longer trust trailers when it comes to Disney Plus. They completely make shit up. But everyone was left saying, why does this look infinitely better than Obi-Wan? And it turns out there may be a pretty clear answer for that. As it turns out, there was a concerted effort to rely less on CGI than most of the Star Wars productions, where at their worst, we got things like the prequel trilogy filmed almost exclusively in front of green screens. Here, more location filming and a massive set building lend the show a sense of a grounded, realism, that the other series have lacked, including, especially Obi-Wan. But namely, one thing that this show did was build an entire outdoor city that they could film in. And that, live sets, real sets, they don't just make it look better, they make the actors do better, because they don't have to pretend, they're in a big green room with green screen shit and nothing's there. They have to pretend everything. You put them in a real set, like in a real city, in a real building with real fucking props and real shit, and they become that character a little bit better. And it helps for, a lot of reasons. And I've always been a fan of real effects with maybe CGI touch-ups. Like, I like CGI and what it's done for the effects, but not when it's pure CGI. That shit never looks good mixed with live action. One of the actresses said they built the entire city for us, like an entire city. I got lost in it. I remember the first day that I walked on set and I was in costume already, which was a coincidence. It just happened to be the day that they gave me the tour. I was at a costume fitting and I went over there and was mind blown. It was the entire outdoor city that exists. Ferrix exists. It's not in a studio. It's not parts of the set that we filmed in a studio. It's actually the whole city. And I keep saying 3 to 5 city blocks. I could be wrong. And also could be maybe under. I'm not sure, but I'm not good with distances. End quote. But still, that's pretty fucking amazing. It could be actually a couple of blocks of a real city. Because usually shit like this, they would make parts of the city and like a corner or maybe an alley, and that would be like a studio.
Yep.
Yo, what's good? Yo, shout out to my man OG Lee's in the building. What's good, OG?
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, bro.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Robot
Hey,
Unicorn.
what's up?
Yes, sir.
What's up?
Robot
What's
Unicorn,
going
yeah.
on, man? That's my favorite game, I might add.
It's fucking hot, man.
Oh, yeah. Yo, OG Lee, you out west, man. What is it like? You guys going through like a real serious heat wave drought type thing out there, man?
Yeah, it's 110 today. It's gonna end. We got 106 tomorrow, and then 105. Then we're hitting like 88, 90, 90. I mean, it's all down. Yesterday was a killer, man. We got like 113 yesterday.
Wow.
For the past 2 weeks, it's been no lower than 105, guys. Like, I can handle 105, but once you get past 105, yeah, that shit fucking goes dope.
Now I've been watching it on, I've been checking it out every morning on the news because, it's like it's just the whole West Coast, bro. Like it's
yeah,
anything like it, bro.
Me too, bro. Like, it's not just because I'm in Central Cal, you know what I mean? Like, I'm in the Central Valley, and it's not just here. It's like all the way from the top of Cali to the bottom of Cali, man. Like Like it's
all the way over to Nevada, parts of Texas.
Bro. It's
New Mexico.
Like, they broke a record in I think SAC yesterday. It got God, what was there? They broke the record yesterday. I forgot what it was, but because yesterday was the hottest day in California, like for this heat wave. You know what I mean?
Jeez.
Like, and I feel bad for the people in Arizona and like in Vegas, because to them 105 ain't nothing.
Wow.
Right.
You know, they're used to like something like 119 and shit. You know, and like with people like that. When they tell me like, oh, 105, man, that ain't nothing. No, that is something. It is not nothing, man. Like, you know, you guys might be used to it, but like, I'm not. Like,
yeah. Well, it's a dry heat too. Like in Florida, 100 degrees seems like 115 because of the 100% humidity. It makes it so much. Ugh.
Yeah. I hate that sticky heat, bro. That's oh my God, man.
That's Florida year round. Oh yeah.
Fuck.
That desert heat is dry heat. You know what I'm saying? Though you get out
there,
dehydrate like a motherfucker quick out there in the desert. Yeah. So OG Lee, man, what's good? We just chopped up the whole acetate gate thing, man. We pretty much covered that. We were just talking about the video that homeboy posted and how it's kind of funny that you can talk, you know, you can act like a jerk off and a douchebag to all these people you were ripping off, and then as soon as something bad happens, you want all this sympathy. And it's funny too that the guy that gave him his problems is the same guy he was in cahoots with, ripping other people off. But
yeah, hey, karma's a mother, man. You know, like, I mean, and in regards to dude's wife and Clayton Crain, like, it takes two to make that dance. You know what I'm saying? Like, like Clayton Crain didn't put a gun to her head and abduct her and steal her away from dude. Like, you know, she would have done that regardless, if not with him, with someone else.
Yep.
You know, but I'm not justifying Clayton Crain in doing that. That's shiesty, man. Like, that's like the most shiesty thing in the fucking world, bro. Like, excuse my language, I shouldn't cuss on here, but
it's like, man's wife. That's your brother. You were treated like a brother and shit.
Exactly, bro. Like, if I'm with the hoe and she leaves me for some dude or some rando or whatever, it's like, wow, you know, man, shame on me, shame on her, whatever. But if it's with like my bro, dude, like, that makes it like 1,000 times. That pain is 1,000 times worse. That backstabbing is 1,000 times worse, man. Because
two people betraying you.
Exactly, man. Two people, like you said, like he welcomed dude. They was like brothers, man. Like, rip people off together, pulling schemes together. You know what I'm saying? But
partners in crime.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't really have empathy for dude. You know, I have sympathy for the situation itself, because like, that's a terrible thing. I don't own that. I don't, you know. I don't like that happening to anyone, you know, male or female, losing their partner to another, you know, that's sad, you know. I don't like that. But I mean, like you said, I mean, they were in cahoots ripping people off together, and he didn't have a problem doing to others until something was done unto him. Then he had the problem.
Yes, sir.
So, like, I mean, if you're a shady person, then, I mean, you can't just go through life burning people and not expect to get burnt yourself, man. I mean,
a lot of people don't think about it that way.
It's just a messed up situation, like, all the way around for all three of them involved.
Yep.
You know, like this, like, to Clayton Crain, like, he lost a lot of fans behind this. I tell you that straight out. I mean, because now they're gonna look at him like, oh, dude, you're a POS and this and that. I mean, it's like, how can I put? Okay, example. I'm gonna use Rob Liefeld as an example. Okay, I don't hate Rob Liefeld. You know, I don't like the way he draws feet, but you know, nobody does. But he can kind of be a jerk. Okay. But I get it, okay, and I'm not defending him. Like, the issue with the kid and that little piece of paper, okay, I'm not going to defend Rob Liefeld on that. But I mean, Rob Liefeld's not. I don't think he's a terrible person. I don't think he's a piece of trash. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Like, he doesn't know really how to deal with people and how to talk to people. But
yeah, you know, like if you guys know what I'm talking about with the kid, it's like there was a kid at a con, and this kid had a piece of paper, and when I say kid, I mean like 12 and under, okay, as a kid.
Oh, okay, right.
And this kid had this little piece of paper going in different artist lines, getting autographs. Right? They're like, yeah, sure, I'll sign it, kid. Yeah. He goes up to Rob Liefeld and he's, hey, Mr. Liefeld, can I get your autograph? And he told the kid no. He goes, no, you got to sign. You got to pay for it. I charge. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like I said, from that aspect, like we don't know Rob Liefeld's deal. If he's under contract, it's his. If the higher ups told him you can't do free auto, you know what I'm saying, bro? Like it's not on. That doesn't make him a terrible person, bro. But he was the only one that told the kid no. When he told the kid no, the other artists looked at Liefeld and they're like, really, Rob? Like, oh, come on, man. Wow. You know, because everyone else done sign that for the kid. But like I said, that doesn't make Rob Liefeld a monster. It does not make him a bad person. It don't, because we don't know the circumstances. Right. You know, that's why I said I'll use him as the example. But this clown, what he did, like, that's just, I mean, I can't grasp that, bro, because that's something I would never do to somebody, because I would never want that done to me, man. Like, I just can't fathom how a man or woman, why would you do that to someone that welcomes you? Yeah. Like, I just can't grasp hold of that, bro. Like, I mean, if I was on the streets or whatever and one of y'all, hey, man, no, you can at least sleep on my couch, bro. All right, cool. And I start getting at your girl behind your back. Like, that, come on, man. That's a neck break waiting to happen, bro. Yeah, bro. That's beyond. I mean, that's you invite someone. Yeah, man. That's a whole. It's a lot of slaps in the face right there. Norman Rad said, watch him on Whatnot. He acts like cokehead. Liefeld spazzes the fuck out on what, dude. I see him on Instagram and shit. I don't watch him on Whatnot, but I see his videos, and he said it himself. He said something about how he knows he looks like he's on coke or something like that. He said something about him being on coke himself. That was funny. But yo, you the realness, OG Lee. You already know. Like one time this guy came into the shop where I worked at, and he ain't supposed to meet you here, Norman. And him start talking, and kid brings up Rob Liefeld. Yeah. And I don't want to badmouth him because this kid seems enamored by him. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and I'm like, okay, cool. We have some of his work, and the kid's like, yeah, I used to live down south. He was my neighbor. And I go, really? And this guy goes, yeah. He goes, I was friends with his kid for a while, and one day he invites me to his house, and hey man, you want to meet my dad? My dad is Rob Liefeld. And that guy's like, what? And he goes, yeah. And he's like, hey, Dad, this is my friend I told you about from school. And this kid had nothing but nice things to say about Rob Liefeld. Yeah. He was welcoming because it was his friend's dad. He didn't meet him as, oh, my God, Rob Liefeld, the star. It's like, oh, my friend's dad is Rob Liefeld. And he had just great things to say about him, and that was someone who had actually met him on a personal level. Like, he would go to the kid's house, and the kid would go to his house. And he said Rob was always polite. Always nice to him, always nice to the friends that his son had brought over. So, I mean, but I never met Rob Liefeld, so I can't say nothing bad about him other than the way he draws feet. But hey, I got a question. Because I just got home and just popped in right now. Right when I popped in, I heard Reno go, yeah, man. And I went, and it was a full costume. Like, what were you talking about? Wait, what did I say? Yeah, you said it was like you were talking about some city just now, right before I popped in. Oh, so yeah. So what we were talking about, actually, right when you came in, we were talking about Disney Plus shows, Star Wars on Disney, Disney Star Wars right now, and then we were talking about Andor, the new show that's about to come out, and how they built the set, like the whole city that the show takes place in is not going to be green screen or any of that. They actually built the live set, not like in a studio. Apparently they built like 4 blocks, a whole city, an actual city to act, do the movie. And so wow, that's something they don't like.
that's a big project, and it helps out. It not only makes the movie or show look better, but it also helps the actors like fall into character more and get better performances too.
That's true.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not excited about that show, but that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, so Rogue One is I always say this, like it's in my top 3 of all the Star Wars films. Rogue One is probably my 3rd favorite. It's like I think Empire, then Revenge of the Sith, then Rogue One, like that, and then different orders after that. But I love Rogue One. It was very different. It's a very unique show, and Andor is a spinoff of that. Andor is a character from Rogue One, right? So, and it's all like that sort of spy espionage shit, which I love already. So it's like 2 things I love: espionage and Star Wars.
Is the show about because like I love the movie Rogue One. Okay, I do, and I thought that was like a perfect puzzle piece as far as solving all the stupid jokes people had about Star Wars, the indestructible planet. You just have to shoot that. It didn't make sense for it to have a weak spot. Rogue One answered that. Yes, it did make sense, and it told us why it had it. All that was awesome.
Yeah.
The way it ended was amazing.
Yeah.
Mind powerful.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. My thing is this, and first of all, that's not a Star Wars movie. It's a Donnie Yen movie. Okay, let's get that straight. It's a Donnie Yen movie.
Okay. All right.
No. But the show, it's pre-Rogue One, correct? Like, is it gonna be about Cassius or K2SO, or
it's about him, like, as a because we knew he was a spy and shit. So it's it's his adventures as a spy, something like that. Some spy
or
shit
him joining the Rebel, him joining the Rebel Alliance or something.
Yeah.
Like, and out of the movie, like I didn't really like his character. Like, I didn't hate his character. I was just like indifferent because it had so many characters in it for us to like get involved with, and we knew their fate. You know what I'm saying? We knew we weren't going to see them in anything after, episode 4 and stuff, because just the way it goes. Right. But, like, I mean, I don't know. I was, you know what?
Well, I felt the same way. Like that character.
I liked the robot a lot. Like, that's the first time I was sad when I saw a robot die.
Yeah, bro.
I
was like, what? He's dying, and
was it KSO 20? Yeah, he was a man.
Yeah. Like I want to spin off of Donnie Yen and Asian Cable. You know what I mean? Like, I want that.
That would be dope.
Yeah, that's why I was like out of the characters they could have made a spinoff about. It's probably one of the least that I'd be interested in seeing, but because it is a spinoff of a movie I love, and it's because it's like that sort of spy genre, which I love, and Star Wars, those things together, I have a little bit of faith. I have a lot more faith in this than I did in Obi-Wan or Book of Boba Fett, and I was pretty much right about them too. But this, but Andor being more realistic as far as the movie sets and all of that stuff. Of course, there's definitely still a lot of CG work. And if you've seen the trailer, some areas are larger, more sprawling cityscapes that obviously cannot be built in real life.
Right.
But still, pretty much nothing here looks like dedicated green screen filming in the traditional sense, at least. Which is why the overall feel of these Andor spots have a different sort of weight to them than Obi-Wan or even parts of the Mandalorian. And the show comes out, we can all check it out. The show comes out in a few weeks, September 21st, and it will overlap a bit with She-Hulk. Still be going on, but yeah.
And you know what, man? Maybe this show, maybe it'll be the one to hook people on that character. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like,
yeah.
Because I mean, it's gonna be strictly him, so we get to see more of that character. Maybe it'll give people like me more insight, because I don't know if either of y'all read the comic book Poe Dameron, but the comic of Poe Dameron was dope because it was really like scumbaggery, like solo-ish. You know what I mean? Like, and I mean, it was dope. Like, and it made you go, oh dang, hey, Poe Dameron was awesome. Like, real like smugglery stuff, and you know, and it just made me respect that character more.
Right.
You know, I mean, maybe this will be that show that'll reopen the audience to like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna check out Rogue One again. Maybe people that didn't get a chance to really trip on Rogue One or just seen it once and like, I didn't really care for it. Maybe this will re-pique their interest. You know, hopefully it will. I hope. I always hope good things for Star Wars.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And you're right. Hopefully that's what happened. That's very likely. And incidentally, Disney Plus, that is coming out September 21st, but there's a lot of shit they're dropping. Like tomorrow drops Thor Love and Thunder, which who cares? But yeah, if you haven't seen it, Obi-Wan Kenobi, A Jedi's Return is something that comes out. I don't know what that is. She-Hulk episode 4. And then Friday we've got United Strikes for America. What they got coming out Wednesday? Short Circuit episode 206. Oh, I thought it was gonna be okay. That's the damn thing again. That cartoon.
Hey, have both of you guys seen Thor: Love and Thunder? I have not seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
I got halfway through.
It's on Disney Plus. I think tomorrow or today.
You got halfway through. That tells me a lot, bro.
Yeah. To keep it a buck, I don't think I quite made it halfway through. Definitely like the first quarter. It was just bad joke after bad joke after bad joke, and they completely ruined Christian Bale's performances. Like it was just took me out of it. So I didn't make it through. I'll probably force myself to finish it at some point, but
because I personally haven't heard anything good about it from people that I know who have seen it. They all told me the same thing you just did, Reno, that it's just like it's lame. Okay, and that Taika
jokes he just
because I know this movie did. I mean, I'm not going to say it was a box office bomb because I don't know the numbers.
It was it was the worst performing MCU film to date.
Oh, okay. Well, there it is. There. I mean, I just know it did poorly enough to where he's not going to be asked back to do another Thor movie, even if there's going to be another Thor movie.
Well, he actually put out a statement that he was done. He said, I'm not going to come back because I don't feel like my brand of humor or something like that. It's falling flat with audiences and I don't know what else to do. So he actually came out and said, this is all I can do. And I was like, wow, bro.
But you know what, Reno and OG, it wasn't never supposed to be comedic in the first place. The first and second Thor movies were never comedic. They were that's what made them good. They were more on a serious note.
This is what Marvel does a lot. They have something that's good a little bit and they overdo it. Like Ragnarok had 20 parts and it was successful. So let's make the next one all that.
See, that's the thing. So I was gonna say, like, even in the comics, man, like Thor's comics traditionally, they're not funny.
No,
you know what I mean? Like, he's the god of Thor. He's dope. You know, he fights people and all this, and he's awesome. Like the Hulk. You know, he's not an idiot. How they made Thor to be an idiot, and I don't like that. Like certain things in the first Thor movie when it comes here. And he doesn't know certain things. Okay, and I get it. And it was funny and it worked to that aspect. You know, he's new on Earth or whatever. He doesn't know our customs, and and all these things. And like you said, there's funny parts in the movie, but the movie was not an all-out comedy.
No, it's just like you said, like little fish out of water jokes and stuff like that, like city mouse, country mouse jokes. But he wasn't
the whole movie. Yeah, the whole movie. Yeah, he wasn't a buffoon. Thor, if they left Thor alone and left him just the way he was, his iteration in the comic books, movies would be fine. But it's not Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is what it is because that's what we got when it came out. That's just what it is. You can't take Thor from being a serious, action-packed, stand-up movie to being a slapstick comedy.
Right.
Like Guardians, it's not Guardians, man. It works for Guardians, but it doesn't work right. It doesn't work for Thor.
And even
See,
Guardians
that's
has serious moments. I mean, the Guardians jokes are well done and they're funny. These jokes were
Right.
poorly done. They were stupidly written and they weren't funny at all. They weren't even
And
funny.
none of the characters, you know what it is too, Reno? And none of the characters act like Thor. Like they're out of place. Like they're out of touch with reality. Like none of they have a serious notion to them, but the things that they like with Guardians mostly that makes it comedic is the way they argue, because there's so many of them and they argue amongst each other. That's what makes it funny. Yeah, because the arguments that they have. Thor, it's just trying to be funny. It doesn't need it. It just doesn't need it.
It's like they try to make him the cliche big dumb jock.
Yeah.
You know, like he's the lovable idiot. And my Thor's not an idiot, bro. You know, like he's not. Like if I want to see something funny, if I want to see a funny Marvel movie, yeah, I'll watch Guardians or Ant-Man. That's it for funny stuff. Because Ant-Man's a dummy. Okay, he's a
comedian. Yeah, and
he always means well, but he's just a guy down on his luck. You know,
right?
And like,
and even the comics is like that for Scott Lang. It's like that for him in the comics. Yeah.
You know, like those are their two comedy vehicles, man. They don't need to make every movie. I think, Reno, you were the first person a while back that said that because of the success of Guardians, that they try to make every Marvel movie afterwards funny.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, Age of Ultron wasn't funny. That wasn't a comedy to me.
No.
You know, the first Avenger was not a comedy. You know, there's
the Iron Man movies
happen, but the movie's not an all-out comedy.
Nope. The first comedy was Guardians and Ant-Man. And that's it. And let those be the funny ones. But another one is She-Hulk. So She-Hulk, Cooks asked what we thought about it. We were definitely gonna get into She-Hulk. But yeah, She-Hulk is another one that's a comedy. It's meant to be a comedy, and a lot of people have problems with She-Hulk. They're complaining about it being funny, or the twerking scene, which was an after credit scene anyway. But the complaints about She-Hulk are that it's too silly or whatever, but that's what She-Hulk is. That's the character.
Yeah, right. That's the character.
Wall. Yeah. It's a comedy character. It's a comedy show. She's a fucking lawyer for superheroes, for Christ's sakes. I mean, come on. And
yeah, her first comic book was funny, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was meant to be funny.
And I think it is.
It's like reading reading the She-Hulk comic is like reading a Deadpool comic, and she's been breaking the fourth wall way before Deadpool was.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think the show is funny. I think the show hits the mark. It does what it's supposed to do. I think the woman that's playing She-Hulk is I think she's kind of hot to keep the buck. But yeah, I mean, I think the show is doing well.
You think she's hot normally, or do you think she's hot when she's She-Hulk?
No, just normally, just the actress.
Okay, because if you were gonna say a She-Hulk, okay, guy.
No, not the big green man.
Like giant green women, you know.
No. The actress. Sada, what's up, Sada?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Miss Sato.
We were just chopping up, talking about She-Hulk a little bit. And,
okay.
Yeah, I think it's good. And like I said, man, I think it's funny, and I think it's supposed to be funny. And another complaint that I'm hearing is too many cameos, or it's a cameo fest. Again, this is what She-Hulk is about. They're gonna take characters that we know and bring them in as clients for her law. So it's supposed to be cameo after cameo after cameo. That's what it's about. So that's the whole point of the lawyer thing and the superhero practice and all of that. So there'll always be guest appearances and all of that. But I wish they gave us more Hulk build up. Going off in a ship was too ominous.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it, so I just know what I hear about it. Like, I haven't watched it yet because I'm still laid up in the back.
Oh man, we'll keep it spoiler free.
Episode 1.
Oh no, I don't care. I mean, the show hasn't ended, so I mean, you know what I mean. Nothing's gonna be ruined for me that I haven't read online. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, the Hulk stuff was always a complaint of a lot of people. Like I know Sada, your Uncle Pete Rock, is pissed about this show. He hates it. He's always
I
tweeting
am
about.
in agreement with him.
Yeah, he's not
Maybe
happy.
not to his extent, but
right. He's a big Hulk guy. He's a big Hulk fan. Just to make it
oh yeah,
why he's
massive.
massive Hulk fan. Grap said he said he was such a fan. He said he had two things on his wall: was his Biggie plaque where he did the beat for Juicy, and a poster of the Hulk. That's all he had on his wall. So he's
I've seen his collection, so it's true. Yeah. I stopped after episode 1. I mean, it just didn't, the tone that they said, I didn't like it, so I haven't watched it since. But I've heard mixed things, sort of. More strongly on the negative side.
Yeah, it's very mixed. People, but yeah, a lot of people are not happy. And I guess you either love it or hate it, but some people don't like it. They don't get it, maybe, or they just don't like and that's it. It's not for everybody. That's one thing about She-Hulk. Definitely not for everybody. It's not if you're a big comic person or you're looking for like any sort of comic action or anything like that. You're not gonna find it there. It's definitely a comedy. It's definitely female centric ish. Very chick flick type show.
Would you?
I don't know.
Hey, would you guys say that She-Hulk is the? How can I? Okay, would you say it's the? And I don't mean this in a negative way at all. But would you say it's the flip side of Matt Murdock? Because he's a lawyer as well, but his show is more serious.
That's what it should be. It's supposed to be giving Boston Legal. For those who don't know, Boston Legal is a spinoff of The Practice, which is a little more serious. This one has a more comedic tone, but they have courtroom scenes. The writing's great. I think that's what She-Hulk is supposed to be, and in that, it can be the flip side, and it can be good. But to me, that's not what it's not good. They're not doing it well, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's so Daredevil is gonna give you the same aspect of the law practice, but obviously you're gonna get lots of great Daredevil action. You're gonna get all that good serious stuff, drama, good storytelling, good writing, all that stuff. Don't look for great storytelling and drama and action for She-Hulk. It's just slapstick, funny comedy. It's really silly, and that's just all it's gonna be. I really hope. And again, it sucks if that's not what you're into. You're not gonna like it. What is he saying? I really hope the show really leads into what's coming next. Daredevil. Will She-Hulk join a main team of Avengers or Fantastic Four, or will it end with her in a spaceship going off to space? Good questions.
We'll see.
Again, I don't think the She-Hulk show is as important as the other shows in the larger continuity of the MCU and things like that. I think it's more
That's
just
so
for
worrisome.
fun. And it is.
That is so
That's
worrisome.
a good word for it.
Because she's a brand new character, and they're like not. They don't have to be. It doesn't have to be a super serious tone, but you're not even like giving her anything to go on that can set her up for her being prominent in the later MCU, which she will be. So it's just like so weird.
Who knows?
Do any of you think? Because we already got an homage, okay? And without She-Hulk, do any of you think that eventually we'll get A-Force?
I've been asking that question for weeks.
For
weeks.
Because she's a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like and like I said, they homaged it in Endgame, right?
Yep.
When it shows Valkyrie and all them like that, that was an homage to A-Force.
Yep.
I could see it happening. I would be surprised if it didn't.
I was just gonna say I wouldn't be surprised if they did. So yeah.
But I mean, that's a whole nother team, a whole nother different.
Yeah.
Like we still ain't got Young Avengers yet. So
yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of teams, and how can they? They can't obviously do phases for every one of the teams, and so they'll probably do mixtures of teams and things like that. But yeah, there's Thunderbolts and A-Force, and there's just so many teams that they've been setting up for. So we don't know which one they're going to go with. Are they going to make an amalgamation of teams, going to create some new shit? We don't really know.
What do you guys think they're going to do about, because Homeboy passed away, so what do you think they're going to do about Red Hulk? Thunderbolt Ross.
There's two.
Good question.
They could recast. They could,
because he's been casted more than once. Yeah, because this isn't the first. This isn't the first Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah, they could.
This isn't the first. Yeah, because they recast him once already. This ain't the first. Bring back the original Thunderbolt Ross from the first Hulk movie.
Yeah,
from the North
Marvel. And Marvel actually has another Red Hulk that's not Thaddeus. So they could use that character's name and make that the new Red Hulk character. They could do that too. It's another option. Hopefully they just recast Thaddeus because it's a badass character. The other one was very brief and largely unknown, but they got some options. Recasting, I think, is the best option, but yeah. She-Hulk, though, Emil Blonsky introduced in the second ever MCU films, 2008's Incredible Hulk, dope one. Was a highly decorated member of the British Royal Marines Special Ops Division. Of course, his life changed dramatically when when he saw what Hulk could do, and he wanted to have that power. Enlisted in his original appearance by Thaddeus Ross to help track down and apprehend Bruce Banner, Blonsky witnessed the full destructive power of Hulk during the film's first act, and then he craved that power for himself, underwent a process meant to turn him into a Captain America-type super soldier, but was also injected with a sample of Banner's blood, which made him into the Hulk-like being known as Abomination. Now Blonsky is cropped up again in the She-Hulk, looking for parole for his crimes several years prior, which he committed as Abomination, right? So in the show, he's decidedly looser. He's a lot more relaxed, even when he transforms. And some individuals online have begun to take issue with the change in mindset for the character, but producer Jessica Gao wants to defend and set the record straight. Some fans on Twitter, Reddit spoke out over the past 2 weeks to contend the decision to change Blonsky's personality. What the hell did they do to Emil Blonsky's character? Wow, not only did they make a joke out of the Hulk, Captain America, and She-Hulk, they made fucking Emil Blonsky into a fucking clown. What? So yeah, a lot of shit like that. But now Jessica Gao, producer of She-Hulk, responded to the criticisms regarding Emil Blonsky's characterization during the show in the interview with Radio Times. She said, "I just thought it would be really fun to pull his character, who was such an incredible part of Hulk lore, and pull him into this Hulk show." Basically saying that this is a comedy and it would be funny to take that very serious, scary character and put him in this comedy. She added that it's been a long span of time since audiences have spent real time with Blonsky, and it would be fun to have a show with a different side to the character. She said, She said anything could have happened to this man over the course of 14 years. People change, especially if they've been sitting in a detention cell somewhere. We don't know what's happened all that time, and people go through these kinds of changes after such huge thing has happened to them, and they've had to sit with this for over a decade. End quote. Excuses like this have been plaguing Disney Plus shows and Amazon Prime shows and all of this stuff because, fans are calling them out. You're not going to be able to do this silly shit, and we're not going to call you out. And then their excuses behind it are just as hollow and meaningless as this. But it's quite possible and perhaps extremely probable that Emil Blonsky is playing everyone. Hopefully, they're being smart about it, and he's playing it so he can get out of this prison. He's been locked up in the highest high security prisons for over a decade. All he wants to be free, and as he claims, live on his own life peacefully. But it's arguably likely that he's just lying to get released from prison so that he can desperately, or because he desperately desires, to get out and smash some shit. so that this earthy, crunchy namaste persona is all the front. And if that is his play, when it worked wonders at the end of She-Hulk's 3rd episode, Blonsky was granted parole. Now, whether he reverts back to his old monstrous ways, we'll have to see in tomorrow's episode. But or tonight's is tonight. But perhaps his rage will be fully reawakened if Bruce Banner once again arrives on the scene, as is speculated. So hopefully this will be bringing the Hulk back to kick some ass, and we'll get to see the Hulk being the Hulk, and fighting the real Abomination. And in a perfect world, that's what we'll get. But this world ain't never been perfect. Stu Dog, I know you got to go, man. You got to fight crime and handle some things, man. But we'll see you back Saturday.
Oh yeah, Saturday. Everything will be normal Saturday. Catch y'all later.
All right,
take care, Stu.
Safe.
Take care. Take care.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think? I mean, do you guys think that it's just bad writing, or do you think that he's faking everybody out and he's really, the same old guy?
I think it's partly bad writing. I mean, the director has, like, every week it seems like she's defending decisions that are made in the show. And it's like the lack of confidence is very worrisome to me. It makes me feel like whatever decisions that have been made are final. So I feel like he's not playing everyone, and this is just who he is now. And that excuse to say that he changes, over time. But yeah, that happens off screen. So that's kind of a weak excuse, in my opinion. But I mean, we'll see. Hopefully I'll eat crow, but I really doubt it. Just because of all the excuses that have been made since the show has come out.
Yes. And yeah, they're all Skrulls, right, Norrin? we'll see. They could just say Rolk is stuck in his form. Yeah, like, okay, so instead of recasting Thaddeus, just have Red Hulk as Red Hulk
the whole time.
Yeah.
But with no mustache. I don't like Red Hulk with the mustache. That looks cheesy, man.
Because he does have a mustache, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yep, he has a mustache, and he keeps his cop glasses.
Yeah. That's funny.
Because look, I think it was the 2016 or 2018, around there. There was a specific run of Thunderbolts that I really, really liked, man. It was when they had Bucky or Winter Soldier on their team, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that run. Like I got into it because one of my coworkers, he's like the only Thunderbolts fan I've ever known in my life. Right. And he's like, "Oh man, you got to read it. It's awesome." And so I jumped on that series, and I really enjoyed it, man. I really liked it. And then all of a sudden, now I see there's a new Thunderbolts team, right? Yeah. And it's, to me, I'm like, that's not, Thunderbolts are supposed to be bad. It's kind of like Suicide Squad. It's supposed to be like bad guys and antis. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But now they're destroying all these other characters and young characters in Thunderbolts. That's the Thunderbolts now. That's not the Thunderbolts, man. Like it's just, but I don't know, man. I sometimes I feel like they're overdoing it with trying to please everybody, man. And by trying to please everybody, you're losing the fans of the original, the core audience that liked what it was when it started.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to add this, we're going to add this, and we're going to make it like this now, and we're going to make it politically correct now, and we're going to do this. It's like, come on, man. Like, what?
Well, speaking of politically correct and shows like this, we know a lot. The the Rings of Power has been getting a lot of backlash from so-called fans who have issue with elves and hobbits being played by black and brown actors. And it's been so bad that Amazon has actually deactivated the review thing from people trolling and basically complaining about everything except the actual show, just complaining about the diverse cast and things like that. House of the Dragon is another one that people are, again, when I say people and fans, I'm talking about a select few people, but they're very vocal and they're very they're very passionate, but they don't have any legitimate complaints. But that I guess that a female is like the star or the Mary Sue and things like that, when in fact that's not actually going on. They're just misogynist white supremacist people. But they're both great shows. So far, House of the Dragon is phenomenal.
Okay, look, I haven't tripped on Rings of Power yet, right? Yeah. They watched it in the living room, but I'm in the room with no TV and stuff, and I haven't seen it yet. And they liked it. And the people I know that really like Tolkien and stuff, they tell me they enjoy it. That it's a great show. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing it because I'm a fan of The Hobbit. Like, out of all the movies, the Hobbit movies were my favorite personally, because as a kid, that was my favorite animated movie. Because it sets up, you know what I mean? The Hobbit was the prequel that sets up Frodo and everyone else, because we see Bilbo find Sting and and all that. And I mean, for this one, this is a prequel, I guess, correct? Like this is when they already make the rings. And I mean, like, I'm looking forward to enjoying it. And I agree. That's dumb. That okay, so elves and hobbits are all European. I mean, I don't.
And these same people had no problems when in Lord of the Rings, the black and brown actors were only able to play orcs and goblins.
Right.
Like, I mean, they're playing elves and hobbits, there's a problem. They're all fictional creatures.
I was gonna say, man, to me, those
Tolkien
people
never said that they were all. Yeah, Tolkien never described them as being white skinned or anything.
Hey, elves and hobbits, those people need to understand are not real. Like, they're make believe characters. Like, and to me, man, my point is this, bro, because when I was young, I was hella into fantasy. Okay, I used to read like hella Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms and all that. And for those people that say, "Oh, well, how come there's people of color?" Dark elves, man, dark elves that live underground. They're dark skin.
Yeah,
they're purposely always dark skin, and it separates them from the elves that live above ground. Okay, but that's that lore, and I'm just saying that's that lore. But I mean, if you're gonna say, "Oh, well, how come the elves and hobbits now are people of color?" Hey, read more.
Read more. But another thing is too, like, humans are a species of creature, hobbits are a species of creature, elves are a species, and just like the human species has a variety of colors, why wouldn't the species of hobbits have a variety of colors?
Exactly.
It's like, are all humans one color? No. So why would all elves be one color? I like how Star Wars is starting to do that with the aliens. Like, I noticed first, remember Admiral Akbar, those red sort of lobster head looking guys. Now there's black ones and blue ones and like a lot of the aliens that we saw always being a certain color in the newer shows and movies, they're making different color ones in the comics and stuff like that.
Exactly.
It makes a lot of sense, because all humans not being one color, why would all this alien species be one color? They wouldn't. So,
because I mean, look, to me, it's like okay, like the Middle Earth stuff, right? You mean to tell me that way back then, I'm going by if it was real, way back then, if you're a person of color, if you're a black dude or a Mexican dude or a Native American dude, you didn't think Liv Tyler was hot, and she was an elf, or if you're a female, you didn't think Orlando Bloom was a handsome guy? He's an elf. Like, you mean to tell me they didn't sleep with humans? Like hobbits, that's a different story. They're short with hairy big feet. That's But hey, people have fetishes. There could be different colored hobbits. Like, but I mean, come on, man. Because there's
Aragorn and Liv Tyler and Aragorn was a human and an elf getting together.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You know it happened.
I mean, come on.
But that's
that's just nuts, bro.
But Amazon's Middle Earth prequel, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, and HBO's Game of Thrones prequel, House of the Dragon, both prequels, both released almost exactly the same time and are earning mostly similar critical scores in Rotten Tomatoes. It's rare for directly competing TV shows to premiere so close to each other, even in the streaming era. So with two steamers duking it out, with live action adaptations of two of the most popular fantasy franchises in the world of all time, how are critics rating each show? Game of Thrones enjoyed a massively popular 8-season run, HBO from 2011 to 2019. So House of the Dragon is a clear attempt to capitalize on the popularity of the show based on George R.R. Martin's books, while The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, fulfills a very similar concept as a prequel to J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings trilogy. There's some clear differences. Both series expand their respective stories based on additional canonical lore instead of adapting specific stories. But House of the Dragon benefits from serving as a direct prequel to an already established series, whereas Rings of Power isn't arriving immediately after the popular Lord of the Rings TV show and could only be considered a spiritual prequel at best to the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings Hobbit movies.
What are the complaints about House of Dragons, bro?
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, so House of the Dragon, I think it's mostly about the lead female character, but honestly, House of the Dragon, you're competing with Game of Thrones, arguably the best fantasy live action anything ever. Definitely the most popular, biggest show to ever exist. And so I expected it to not quite be up to par with Game of Thrones. I've been blown away. Like I think this show could, if it continues like it's going and gets better and doesn't fuck up and doesn't botch the ending like Game of Thrones did, this could be a better show than Game of Thrones if it runs as long. Because it's just as good. And if they don't make the same mistakes as Game of Thrones, then they could be on par, at least just as good. But with Lord of the Rings, with the Rings of Power thing, it's a little bit different because we don't have such a fresh, show or even the Lord of the Rings movies were decades ago, however long ago. So It doesn't quite have that fan base built in, and you have very passionate Tolkien fans, but what they're all missing is that Rings of Power is based on the appendices of a larger book that was actually not even finished by Tolkien himself. And so it's largely going to be left to interpretation because it's not directly adapting a book or series of books like Game of Thrones was. Even House of the Dragon is a direct adaptation of an entire chapter of a book. The Rings of Power is not an adaptation of a direct story. It's taking characters and creatures and events out of the appendices of the Silmarillion and shit and making a story out of it. So there's going to be a whole lot of shit that you're not going to find in the books, of course, because it's not directly adapted from.
So it's just using Tolkien's lore as source material.
It's using the Legendarium as source material, right?
Okay,
gotcha.
Whereas House of the Dragon is basically an acting out of a story that's been written. And Game of Thrones was an acting out of what 1, 2, 3, 5 books that were written, 5 whole novels. So it was a lot easier for Game of Thrones to give us a whole lot of great content because the books were already written. All they had to do is adapt it in their own style. House of the Dragon is going to be a little harder because they've got to make season after season based on this one chapter of a book. So they can only go so far unless they start going into other chapters and stuff like that, which I wish they would. But Rings of Power doesn't have that story that it's retelling. So you can't look at it and go, oh, well, this didn't happen in the story and that didn't happen in the story because there's no actual story that it's being based on. It's making up a story. Events are still real. They're still retelling the real events to an extent and all that. And there's going to be a lot of interpretation, and they're getting a lot wrong. Before, not to interrupt you, but another thing is they've got only certain rights to the Lord of the Rings material. I think they can't even use the word Hobbit, so they're calling them Harfoots. Like there's a lot of shit.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Well, okay, look, as you a Tolkien fan since a kid?
Oh yeah. When I was a little kid, I watched the first Hobbit cartoon. That blew my mind.
Right.
Middle school, I read all the books. When I found out that the movies were coming out, I knew they'd be dope.
When you watch the original cartoons, okay, and the movies too, because they did it justice. In the beginning, when we see them forging the rings, and then they split the rings, and they separate. As a Tolkien fan, how could you not have been curious? Like, hey, what happened before Bilbo? What happened like when they separated the ring? I want to know. You know what I mean? Like, and if nothing was ever concrete written about it, then like I don't see what the problem is. Like, I'm curious. I want to know. Like, as long as it's done well, you know. But
I think the problem is the fact of they've said as much. I mean, a lot of them aren't even mincing words. They don't like the black elves and the black.
Oh my god, dude!
Because other than that, again, yeah, they can make complaints, and maybe it's not for you. Maybe you don't like the show. Maybe you don't like the way that they're telling it. Whatever. But if your complaint is only that black people shouldn't be hobbits, then you're a buffoon. You're making a fool of yourself.
Exactly, bro. I could see if it was boring or poorly written, and people are like, "Oh no, it's boring, bro. It's garbage. They're ruining this." Okay, that's understandable. That's subjective, but it's understandable. Okay,
yeah, it's a legitimate
complaint about the actors, man. Like, yeah, that's pathetic, bro. That's sad. Like
this recency bias may work in favor of House of the Dragon, since Game of Thrones is still fresh in people's minds, while The Rings of Power has to introduce audiences to an entirely new era of a world. Like this takes place, bro, in the before the Second Age or something like that. Like Lord of the Rings is in the Fourth Age, I think, and this is like the Second Age. This is when Galadriel was a kid, like a 20-year-old. And she's thousands of years old. So, if you're a Tolkien fan, you couldn't resist. Like, I couldn't wait till they made this show. Like, I was hearing, like, they're going to talk about the forging of the rings, and we're going to actually see Lord Sauron before he was just a big black suit of armor or a flaming eyeball. We're going to actually see the physical embodiment. We're going to see Sauron and all of that. So I was mad excited. I'm already all in, but to keep it a buck, the show kind of started a little bit boring, and honestly, the actors, the white people that they chose for this are some of the ugliest white people I've seen them ever put in a show. But for the most part, it was just it was like had some cool parts. The Hobbit parts were really corny. I'll keep it a buck. It was super corny and like I don't like that part of it. Like, that's not my favorite part. Like, I could complain about stuff about the show. And so there are legitimate complaints.
But you're still gonna finish it though, right? Like, it still has you, right? Like,
see, I would not. I wouldn't prejudge it based on anything, and I'm gonna watch it because I want to find out what they're telling me. Like, I want to learn about. I want to see these things happen, even if there's corny parts or parts I don't like. If you're a Tolkien fan, like, you got to see this. And I know even the people that are complaining about it, they're still watching it. So, but Lord of the Rings has a dedicated fan base for both the books and movies, and Tolkien's Lord of the Rings books have outsold Martin's Ice of Fire several times over, with the help of a healthy head start. Regardless, though, the reception of the concurrently released fantasy prequel shows will be telling. But so how do their scores compare on Rotten Tomatoes? You have House of the Dragon taking a 1-point lead at 85% Rotten Tomatoes for the critics score. Rings of Power has 84%. Increasingly, House of the Dragon's first episode scored 87% in Rotten Tomatoes, which is 3 points higher than Rings of Power's premiere at 84%. Although the second episodes of each show are exactly 86%. The Rings of Power will see a total of 8 episodes in the first season. House of the Dragon will have 10. So there's still a lot of time to see how these scores are going to shake out through the remainder of their respective seasons. But comparatively, both shows come in lower than Game of Thrones season, debut season, on Rotten Tomatoes score of 90%, which is the lowest scoring season of Game of Thrones prior to the hugely divisive 8th season, which scored 55%. When it comes to the first 2 episodes of Game of Thrones, both scored 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, so clearly a big budget fantasy television genre has a high bar for success. House of the Dragon might have the slightest edge over Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power when it comes to the critics' tomato meter score, but Rotten Tomatoes specially selected top critics account actually hold a clear preference for Rings of Power. The Rotten Tomatoes top critics gave Rings of Power first episode 81% and the second episode 86%, which is an average of 84%, while House of the Dragon's first 2 episodes got 79 and 75, which is an average of 77% from the top critics. Reviews are all subjective, though, even from critics. So Rotten Tomatoes top critic score isn't inherently more important than other critics' scores, but it's still a revealing metric about the overall reception of each show comparatively. While not universally true, top critics lend to belong to bigger publications, so don't always put the same emphasis on things like lore or Easter eggs, and instead judge the storytelling and artistry, while the all critics tomato meter score displayed prominently in front of every show or movie on Rotten Tomatoes is often more indicative of entertainment value, although there's always exceptions in both cases. But Rings of Power, man, and House of Dragon might be neck and neck when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes pretty much, but on the top critic scores. But when you talk about the audience score is where you get a major gap. So, and this is how you can tell that the Rings of Power complaints are basically bigotry and racist in nature, because while the critics are giving it 85%, the audience score is giving it 39%.
Damn.
Because the trollers are just flooding it with negative bullshit. Whereas House of the Dragon has 84% by the audience. So the audience,
wow, man.
House of the Dragon, the audience is just shitting on Rings of Power, but again, it's not the real audience; it's the vocal minority, racist asshole.
That's way out, bro. That's way out.
Do you think that encapsulates like all of it? The trolls encapsulates all of that? Like
no, because there is a lot of legitimate complaints, but it was so overwhelmingly full of the bullshit complaints that Amazon actually turned off the review and rating system for the show, because they said it wasn't getting a fair review because it was just getting inundated with people complaining about the colors of the elves and shit.
Oh, yikes.
What up, Def Chimp?
Hello.
Yeah, so yeah. But I don't know. Again, I'm enjoying both shows. Until I don't, I will. I'm not gonna, take.
Would you be able? And I know they both barely started, but as a fan of the genre in general, would you be able to pick a show one over the other right now? Like, would you say, "Oh, right now I'm enjoying the"? Oh, which one?
House of the Dragon is better.
Damn.
Okay. No hesitation.
No hesitation. And again, but that's my personal, because I like a darker, more serious, more dramatic, more tragic show when it comes to fantasy. I'm not all about the happy-go-lucky and the hobbits and the woo-woo-woo. I like that. That's not my thing. So
right.
Personally, I like House of the Dragon. As far as shows go, like as far as the production and all of that shit goes, it's really hard to say. I mean, Rings of Power spent $1 billion on this season. Granted, a quarter of that $1 billion was the rights to be able to make it. Still, even at
You said a billion with a B?
Oh yeah, they spent $1 billion on the first season.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
Yeah,
it's wildly insane. It's the most any show obviously has ever costed.
Or movie, right? Like, they don't spend that much on movies.
Or
no,
movie.
They don't.
And that's just season 1. That's just 9 episodes. So
wow.
Does it look $1 billion worth?
But you can. Well, that's what I was gonna say. It looks like you're in Middle Earth. I mean, it doesn't look like they filmed it in the woods outside. Like this is it really, you can see where the $1 billion went. So as far as all that goes, maybe Rings of Power has it over House of the Dragon, but not even though, like, I don't know. I like the look of House of the Dragon better, but again, that's my personal preference of the way, I kind of see fantasy. But yeah, Rings of Power holds nothing back when it comes to like visual effects and all that stuff. I mean, they really fucking went overboard. But
I hope that show does not tank then, because
I know
a lot of cash, man. That's a whole lot of that could have been used for something else.
Yeah, that's why Amazon like jumping on it. Turn off the reviews. They're making sure that shit gets successful.
That's what I'm saying.
Hey,
they turn off the reviews and shit because they can't afford
on IMDb too, right? Because Amazon owns IMDb.
Yeah.
Didn't they shut the review down on there? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Mercy.
I think so. I read something.
I'm not sure. Amazon owns everything, man. Hey, dude. Like, I'm not sure. I think Amazon owns me by now. Like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they might own Sixth Element for all I know.
They probably. You're gonna get a bill for $1 billion, Reno, right after this.
Good luck. Trying to collect, but fans probably don't know that one of the most controversial actors in the Rings of Power was actually in The Mandalorian too, as a minor villain. Yeah, like kind of a secret. Early in season 1 of The Mandalorian, Din Djarin decided to meet an old friend for show work, and this led him to rescue an individual from the New Republic prisoner transport, leading to Din being backstabbed by his crew. Bill Burr's Mayfield character led the crew, and the Twi'lek that they rescued, Quinn, was played by Ismael Cruz Cordova. In Rings of Power, the actor plays Orondir, an elf who ends up falling in love with a human in the series. A black elf, by the way, who falls in love with a Caucasian human.
See, it could happen. It could happen.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to say he's black. I think he might be Dominican.
For a second there, I thought you was going to say Bill Burr, dude. And I was going to say, dude, I'm getting out of this bed. I'm watching that right now. Dude. I love Bill Burr, dude. Oh, my God.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Bill Burr is a fucking comedy gold. But yeah, most fans, would have never noticed that the same actor played the two characters, but a well-known Star Wars account shared the news following the debut of the show, because you really can't recognize him. I mean, he plays the Twi'lek. He's got the big forehead effects. He's got a new nose on, cheek things, a chin. So you really cannot see him at all, as in Mandalorian of who the actor is, but he's got a lot of range in his acting skills. But the fans of the Lord of the Rings have been very opinionated about the casting, because he is the first non-white elf, and of course his hair is short and not blonde. For some fans, this goes against Tolkien's work and disregards all of the work he did in creating Middle Earth. Blech. Bullshit. Other fans are fine with the changes, of course, but don't enjoy how the character is smitten with a human girl, which looks like a major plot point for the character. As the series releases new episodes every Friday, fans are gonna have to wait to see if the Rings of Power will change its mind. But it's probably asking a lot from this show. It's probably one of the main storylines. We know that an elf falling in love with a human has happened. It was a big part of Lord of the Rings. But it's very rare because they know that they will, like, if they were to join, the elf would lose his immortality and begin to age like a human, and so there's a lot of drawbacks. They wouldn't be able to go to the afterlife, or what they call the going west, which was something cool, OG Lee, that you probably remember from the end of Lord of the Rings. Remember how old ass Bilbo and the elves and Elrond, they were all going to be taking that ship and going off to
yes,
the way out in the west. Well, in this show, they actually show them going there, and they show like the sky opens up and this big gold light, and they're in this ship, and they got to go
because isn't that their quote unquote, isn't that their not
I thought it was like their heaven kind of thing.
I was gonna say, isn't that their way of passing to heaven, like from leaving Earth and going to heaven, correct? Like,
well, that's what I thought, because they call it the Undying Lands. It's basically where you go to live forever. Well, what happened in the show was Galadriel is like the main character, or one of, and her little crew. They had been thwarting the forces of Margoth for decades, centuries, whatever, and they have, I guess the council decided that the threat is gone, there's nothing else to fight, let's give these people their rewards, and their reward was you get to go to the place, to the Undying Lands as a reward for their lifetime of fighting the bad guys. And Galadriel, she doesn't want to go. She's like, that's really cool, but like, I don't want to go. And I feel like I need to be here because I feel like there's going to be more threats. I don't feel like it's over. I feel like we need to stay vigilant, blah, blah, blah. And of course, the council's like, no, it's all over. Let the warriors go and have their reward. She jumps out of the ship and doesn't go. Spoiler alert, she doesn't go to the land of Undying or whatever. But I won't spoil what happens next, but that's kind of cool if you were into, because I know I was like, damn, I kind of want to see that place, when I was watching Lord of the Rings. So, I mean, this show has got a lot of cool shit. I mean, again, I really don't understand how like a real Lord of the Rings fan is not getting some entertainment out of this. If you're really letting the fact that there's a black elf ruin this show for you, I don't think you're a Tolkien fan. I think you're just, you're an asshole. If that's your only problem with this show. If you don't like the show for Tolkien reasons or other legitimate reasons, and that has nothing to do with it, and you couldn't care less about the colors of the elves, then you have some legitimate concerns, legitimate gripes. Fine, that's cool, and I wouldn't knock you. But if your only argument, or if your only problem with it, rather, or if the basis of the problems, or if it started with a problem based on the skin color of the elves, you've probably stifled yourself with a whole bunch of made up problems so you can sort of justify your racist behavior, and you're missing out on something really cool. I find when you prejudge shit, you end up missing out on cool shit.
Exactly.
Bottom line. So, I love the diversity of the different kinds of cultures and people in this world, and I love the differences. Like, I'm not even the person that says, "Oh, we're all the same." No, we're not all the same, and that's what's dope about it.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, bro.
But I don't want to go into that kind of stuff. Okay. Star Trek is another thing that I wanted to really quick touch on. I really wanted to say this when Stu was here. I didn't know he had an issue. He had to go earlier, but Star Trek is his favorite shit. Stu's a big Trekkie, and they said that Janeway, Captain Janeway, could be better than Star Trek Picard. The show, I guess they're doing a show called Star Trek Janeway, and we know they had Star Trek Picard. And if you don't follow Star Trek, Janeway was a captain. I think she was like the first female captain of one of the shows. I think what was she on, Voyager? Or
it was either Voyager or Deep Space. I was Voyager. I think Voyager. Deep Space Nine was Cisco.
Yeah, it was Voyager.
And that was a good show, man.
It was. I mean, people liked it. I know people liked Voyager. I was never a really big Star Trek fan. The only show that I really got into was the one with Picard when I was a kid.
Next Generation.
Right. Yeah. And I really only watched that because my pops was watching it. He was a big Star Trek fan. He is a big Star Trek fan, and so he was watching Next Generation when I was a little kid. It was like during the times that I'd be watching TV, so I ended up watching that show. But other than that, Star Trek was never my thing, just because as a little kid, when I was getting into that kind of stuff, it didn't have enough action for me. I felt it was more boring, like obviously I didn't know any better as a kid, but as a little kid, there's no lightsabers, they're not shooting black lasers at each other, there's nothing like, what's this? This is boring. I didn't get it. So I just got into Star Wars and never got into Star Trek. Star Trek's actually really dope. It's actually got some cool ass story, and there's lots of action. But the new movies are fucking killer. Like the new Star Trek movies with Chris Pine and all of them. I love those.
So I grew up on the original Star Trek, like how you grew up. Like your dad would watch Next Generation. Like my dad would watch like Captain Kirk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what he was watching before Generation came out. Yeah.
And that was like my first introduction, because that was older than Star Wars. But to me, it was like Star Trek was TV and Star Wars was the movies.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
And then they came out with, Star Trek, the motion picture, and all that. Right. And I had always thought it was cool as far as in that specific universe, the Kirk and, universe and stuff. I thought it was cool to see, because I hella watched the show, okay, with Captain Kirk and all that. And I just thought it was cool when you see way, way later on, like Uhura's a captain.
Yeah.
Sulu's a captain. He has his own ship. I thought that was dope, because the crew was no longer the crew of the Enterprise. They had split up and they each had their own ships. And I was like, that's dope. But then they all had to come back and work for Kirk on his ship.
Right. Well, let's get this out of the way. What this has not come from someone who hates new Star Trek. I've watched some of the old Star Treks. I haven't watched any of the new Star Trek series, but I mean to correct that soon. I'm gonna check them all out. But so season 2 premiere of Picard, and more recently season 3 premiere of Lower Decks.
I was gonna ask you about that.
They had pretty positive reviews. Again, I personally haven't checked them out, but
do you know anything about Lower Decks?
Only that I think it's a comedy, and it's not really.
It's a cartoon, and it's
like the crew that lives that's not on the bridge. It's the other shit.
No, they're like the mechanics and stuff, bro. And at first when they released it, I thought it was gonna be silly, and I was like, I'm not gonna be into this. But going into it, just like with the She-Hulk thing, going into it knowing it's a comedy, okay? Knowing that. When you go into it knowing it's a comedy, dude, it's awesome. It is, man. It's nothing but comedy, dude. Like, it's hella funny. Like,
yeah. I figured it would be, and it looked, again, it's a comedy, so it's not meant to be taken seriously, and so much of Star Trek is taken very seriously, so I thought it'd be pretty cool. In the meantime, it seems more and more likely that this new Star Trek Janeway, whether or not that's the title, is on its way. I'm
gonna check now.
Yeah, bro. For months now, Kate Mulgrew has been teasing a potential return to that franchise. So yeah, I mean, I'm into it too. And one of the things Star Trek is all about is hope, and we can learn from past mistakes. So let's take a look at Picard and see how Janeway could track its missteps and become a stronger series because of it. Because ironically, one of the ways newer Star Trek has differentiated itself from its initial revival era, like the Voyagers and Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, is that particularly with Discovery and Picard, it became more similar to Star Trek, the original series, in one crucial way. the shows began focusing on individual characters rather than ensembles. Just like as Discovery is Michael Burnham's show and Picard is obviously Picard's Patrick Stewart show. The OG series was mainly a showcase for William Shatner. Sure, Leonard Nimoy got his time and every now and then, and DeForest Kelly got a bit more screen time to complain, but for the most part, it was Shatner's show. And there was
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there was no Sulu episodes. There was or Uhura episodes. Meanwhile, all of the TNG era shows were ensemble affairs, like Brent Spinner, Michael Dorn, Terry Farrell, Linda Park, Connor Trainer, Nana Visitor. All these people were getting their own episodes in spite of not being the leads. And that's one of Picard's problems, apparently, is that it isn't a Jean-Luc Picard, or it isn't that Jean-Luc Picard isn't a compelling character. It's that we're not used to him on his own show. Of course, some of the best stories that TNG had to offer, like the Drummerhead and the Inner Light, Starship Mine, were Picard-centric episodes, but his crew was never far. And but who knows? Maybe there's your fan here and there who turned into TNG just for Picard. The Next Generation is TNG. But if that were, the norm, then there wouldn't have been need for who knows how many Worf episodes and Data episodes and Wesley episodes even. But this is one of the first big lessons any potential Star Trek Janeway series should learn. Don't make it just about Janeway. Voyager had an ensemble cast for a reason, and without them, there's no point. Which brings us to our next lesson. Yes, Jonathan Frakes, Ben Spinner, and Maria Sturz all reprised their TNG roles for season 1 of Star Trek Picard. Even Jonathan Del Arco returned to play the reformed Borg Hugh. And then came season 2, which saw the return of Whoopi Goldberg as Gunyan.
The bartender.
And ever so briefly, Will Wheaton as Wesley Crusher. But the show made us all wait and wonder for all those appearances, many of which never seemed as significant as they could have, and should have been. As much of a joy as it's been, to see the return of Jerry Ryan as 7 of 9, it seems almost cruel that a Voyager character has had much more screen time than Picard and any other TNG character besides Picard himself. And that will change with the third and final season, as almost the entire lead cast of The Next Generation is coming back. But it feels 2 seasons too late, I think. And this is another lesson Star Trek Janeway should learn from. We don't need the entire lead cast of Voyager to drop into the series in episode 1.
It's only going to be three seasons, bro. Picard.
Yeah.
Dang.
Was it planned like that? Do you know, or did they just?
Okay.
I have no idea. Or if it just isn't going well, but we don't even necessarily need the entire Voyager cast in the first season. But we do need some of them. Don't give us Janeway and 6 strangers. But I don't know. I think the point, like, Janeway is just not that interesting of a person, of a character by herself. I mean, she's very dry.
No, I agree with you. Like, the show was awesome. Yes. But yeah, just her specific, and I love Camo Group, but her character is not stale, but I don't know,
really dry, like very dry.
Oh no! You
so but she could. But like you said, OG, it was a good show. The characters are cool, and as long as you have them all included, and you're not just trying to make it one show about the most stale character, then you're fine. But
hey, and this is pure fan guess, fan speculation. Do you think this will lead to us getting a Cisco show? Because we just got Picard, now we're getting Janeway.
Yeah,
do you think? Because Deep Space Nine was a cool show. I liked it. I liked Cisco, Man Called Hawk. You know what I mean?
That's one that I could see them redoing. Yeah. I think it will depend on the success of Janeway and combined with the success or not success of Picard. So we'll see. But that does make sense, and I think that would be probably the next one to do if they did another one. Rick and Morty just dropped season 6, episode 1, just came out.
Oh, snap.
I'm a big Rick and Morty fan. Love the show, love the science, love the sci-fi tropes. I'm not one of those guys who says Rick and Morty is so intelligent, you just don't get it. No, it's not. What it is it's really based on like the sci-fi tropes of Isaac Asimov, Philip K. Dick, Orson Scott Card, like some of the best sci-fi writers of our lifetime. So that's what's really cool about it. Yeah. Season 6 just premiered. And confirmed a massive Jerry theory. So if you guys follow and spoilers for season 6, episode 1 of Rick and Morty here, but the season 6 premiere was packed to the brim with canon and continuity, and in doing so, it confirmed a massive Jerry theory that because in the premiere, every one of the show's interdimensional travelers is sent back to their original home dimension, with Rick, Morty, and Jerry all being zapped out of dimension C31, which was like the main 616, main universe. While it was already confirmed that Rick and Morty were from C137, through C137, Rick and Morty never stated that Jerry was from another dimension. But from a fan theory, all the way back to season 2, already predicted this twist. In the season 2, episode 2, called Morty Night Run, Jerry stows away on Rick's ship as Rick is giving Morty driving lessons. Suddenly, Rick gets a call and realizes that he and Morty have to go on a mission, meaning that he has to find something to do with Jerry. And they decide to drop him off at an interdimensional Jerry daycare called Jerry Baree.
I remember that.
Remember that?
Where it's all those Jerrys and they're just in that room.
Yeah. Because all the Ricks of all the different universes have had to dump their Jerrys off for whatever reason. And so when dropping Jerry off, Rick classifies himself as Rick C137, but puts NA for Jerry's dimension. And as Rick and Morty had to switch dimensions C131 after the events of Rick Potion number 9, when Rick picks him up at the end of the episode, though, and he realizes that his ticket is lost, causing him to swap Jerry's with another Rick in hopes of getting the right one. For every subsequent episode, the show has acted as if Rick picked the correct Jerry in Morty Night Run, but the long-held Rick and Morty Jerry theory posits that Rick picked up the wrong Jerry, and that this incorrect Jerry has been living in C131 ever since. As it turns out, according to this series, to this episode, that theory was correct. Whether they, are following fan theories with this episode or what, or if they'd planned it the whole time, it's really dope, as Jerry is one of the people sent back to his home dimension in the season premiere of 6. And as soon as Rick sees this, he mentions that, the Jerry Baree as an explanation, even referring to it as a deep cut. While Morty Night Run, the episode theory has been around ever since the Jerry Baree incident, Rick and Morty season 6 finally confirmed that theory in a very hilarious way.
Oh, wow.
It picks up directly after the Rick and Morty season 5 finale, where the citadel of Ricks has been destroyed. Evil Morty has broken the central finite curve in the finale. So none of the show's portal guns work, which means Rick and Morty are stuck until Space Beth finds them. And upon their return to Earth, Rick believes that he can fix the portal gun by resetting the portal fluid. But in the process, he accidentally resets the portal travelers instead. And because of this, Rick, Morty, and Jerry and hundreds of the dead Rick and Mortys from the Citadel are sent home, kicking off the events of season 6. Rick and Morty has always been torn between canonical episodes and standalone episodes, but the season 6 premiere proves that both have their place in the series. While the Jerry incident in Morty Night Run was a small joke, the writers of Rick and Morty pay incredibly close attention to continuity, paying off details from all the way back to season 2 in season 6. Another great I mean, this is another reason why I love this show. I mean, you think you think some arbitrary event happens or whatever, and then like seasons later they go back to it and you find out that it was all for a reason, and then they never mention it. It's like shit like that, bro. It's a really intricately written show. So it's not like a lot of fans say like it's over your head. It's not. It's just very well put together, and it's got a lot of tropes from real sci-fi, and they just do it very well. So I rock with Rick and Morty big time. All right. Yeah, guys, that is our show though, pretty much. Sada, Lee, you guys have anything you want to say before we dip?
I don't think so. I'm not. No new news that I can think of. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were gonna. I was gonna do a thing with my homeboy Dex. Was gonna we were gonna talk about these new rap group Coast Contra on Saturday. So we'll do that, or we'll do that Saturday.
Okay. Cool.
Because I got some new freestyles that I wanted to show of theirs, and chop it up because these guys.
Them dudes are dope, man. Them dudes are dope, dude.
Dude, they are. They're my favorite.
I love that they're from all different places. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude, they're dope. They're like they remind me of like Slaughterhouse or Wu-Tang or any group where every member is very different from each other, but they're all like really dope in their own way. And this is the first time I've seen like real lyrical gymnastics from this generation. Like you don't really see this type of shit. You either see, real basic, like, New York style bar rappers, or it's the mumble rap chanting, bullshit. But to see guys really come and spitting like on some Outcast shit or some real, Bone or something like that, like really, really flipping, man, is a really big breath of fresh air. So we want to show them some light. We want to put some light on the real lyricists because they're just not getting it these days. So we're gonna chop it up, man. On Saturday.
They're based out here, correct? Aren't they based in LA?
I was gonna say, yeah, I think they're in Cali. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're in Cali. They've got a very eclectic style. I mean, you really can't tell where they're from by their rap styles, and that's really dope. Like if you can just immediately tell, oh, that guy's from New York, he's got a very basic style, or oh, that guy's from the South. These guys, you don't know where they're from because they're rapping in any kind of style, and they've got very unique and very versatile flows. So if you guys want to check them out, they're called Coast Contra. Like as in West Coast Contra. Yeah.
Bad.
But we'll chop that up Saturday. So guys, we're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So don't forget, write that down. Same bad time, same bad channel, 3 days a week. And that's our show, y'all. So we will see you guys on Saturday. All right.
Yes.
Have a good week. Be safe.
Saturday.
Peace.
Take care.